Aloha, welcome to the Mr. G podcast. This is episode number 57. Today I'm going to be telling you a story about basketball, but it transcends to life, about sleeping on the floor of my mother's room during a Utah Jazz Spurs game back in 2003. Today is Friday, July 28th, 2023. And the story's from 2003, so 20 years ago. But it's a wonderful morning in Honolulu. It's about 5:40 a.m. here in the largest city in the Pacific. I'm coming to you from the outskirts of Chinatown, here in my apartment with my cats. I just fed my street cats. I wake up at 3 a.m. every day, and I feed approximately 100 street cats. I've been doing that for 4 years. But like I said, today we're going to be telling a story that I've never told before. This story was actually on the cutting room floor of my first book, Gonzo Education, which is available on Amazon. It's one of the top reviewed books on Amazon. And in Gonzo Education, I talk about a trip that I took when my mom was attempting to leave her husband. Her husband's name was Guy. And my mom had two sets of twins, me and my twin brother, and our two older twin sisters. The odds of a woman having two sets of twins is 1 in 700,000. I don't know what the odds of a woman having two sets of twins and schizophrenia is, but I'm guessing it's pretty low. And that was the story with my mom. When she was on hardcore medication, she wasn't schizophrenic, and she worked as a teacher, as a special ed teacher. And she had a master's degree. She was well educated, just like my father had a PhD. But my father had full custody, and he was a horrible person. My parents got divorced when they were 4 years old, and she remarried this person that I said, Guy. And so during this time in 2003, early 2003, um, I was convincing my mom to leave her husband. And I told her she wanted to be with her two sets of twins, which she didn't have custody of growing up. And they were, and me, I was already grown up, my twin brother already grown, and our older sister's already grown. But I told her she deserved to have her own place where her twins could come and visit her. And that was the breaking point. She was really wanting to leave her husband. And at the time, I didn't have anywhere to live. Me and Michael, my twin brother, we had just got back from walking to Austin. We walked from San Antonio to Austin. It's in my book. And her husband, Guy, didn't want me to stay there, but it was very cold out. And this particular night of the Utah Jazz game, she said, okay, my husband says you can't stay, but I say you can stay, so you can stay in my room, because they had separate rooms. So I laid on the floor of her room. And one reason why I haven't told this story before is because I was like embarrassed, like, oh, I'm 23 years old, sleeping on the floor of my mom's room. But living at these particular apartments for 4.5 years and seeing how large families live in one room, I see things a little differently. And during that time, like I said, I was trying to convince her to leave her husband. And we would end up going to Kansas, where my mom's brother lived. And that didn't work out. And she would end up coming back to Texas. And she would only be alive for about another 6 months, so, 10 months maybe, because she ended up taking her own life in this bathroom that was right by her bedroom at this house. And so on this particular night, she's like, okay, so Guy said you can't stay, so you can sleep on the floor of my room. I'm like, okay, can we listen to the Spurs game? And the Spurs were playing at Utah, and Karl Malone was still playing with the Jazz. So when this podcast is over later today, I'm going to research what exact day it was. I believe it was February 2003. And so Karl Malone was still playing with the Jazz, and Tim Duncan was on the Spurs. And we listened to the game in my mom's room. And she wasn't a Spurs basketball fan or anything, but she would always, she would get custody, visit us on weekends and every Wednesday. And she would, take us to Spurs meet and greets and autograph signings. And she would always be like, did the Spurs win? And she would cheer for them. Her favorite player was Avery Johnson. And we got to meet him a couple of times at the meet and greets. And So she listened to the game with me that night. And like I said, when I look back at this story, it was like embarrassing. And at the time, I was kind of upset. Like, I can't believe this. I wish it wasn't cold outside. If it wasn't cold, I would just go outside, but I can't freeze, you know? And I had a van and stuff, but it was too cold, even with the heater on in the van. And so she let me sleep inside, and I remember waking up just feeling very comfortable and warm. And growing up without my mother in my life, I think back, that was actually a very significant time, you know, because when you wake up, the first thing, you don't know where you're at, and for a few seconds at least, you're like, "What? Where am I? What's going on?" You know, everybody's like that right when they wake up. And so I remember right when I woke up, I had a very calm feeling of peace, like everything was going to be okay. And when you look at it, I probably hadn't slept in the room with my mom since I was 4 or 5 years old, since our father got custody. So I hadn't actually had that feeling of just like being unconscious next to your mother, the person that gave you birth, that brought you into this world. And being embarrassed of it's not, I shouldn't be. I did like that story, and like I said, it was originally in my first book. I had to take it out, even though I like that story, because it didn't flow with everything, you know. And I already had talked about basketball numerous times, and so I thought I would keep that story of sleeping on the floor in my mom's bedroom, listening to the Utah Jazz game, and waking up calm and peaceful. But then I woke up and I went and used that bathroom, that guest bathroom that my mom, you know, ended up, you know, taking her life in. But uh, um, but yeah, that was a night that I always cherish, and waking up very calm and like everything's going to be okay is something I'll always remember. Uh, During this time period, like I said, me and my mom, we would fly to Kansas and it wouldn't work out. And she would end up going back to Texas and then going to the mental hospital, then being released from the mental hospital that November, and then taking her own life in that bathroom, in the bathtub by drowning. And there was argument amongst the two sets of twins, like, oh, she wouldn't have done that, she couldn't have taken her own life. But I was the one closest to her. And during this time of the Utah Jazz game, before we had decided that we were going to go to Kansas, she was in the bathroom there, and I heard her in the tub, and she was in there for hours, and I kept on hearing her gasping for air and going underwater and gasping for air. And then I got to one point that I banged on the door and said, "Mom, what are you doing? Stop doing that. What are you doing, Mom? Get out of the bathtub, Mom. Get out of the bathtub." And then she got out of the bathtub, and then right when she got out, that's when she was like, "Okay, we're going to Kansas." And I was like, "All right." And then, you know, we end up going to Kansas. It doesn't really work out. I start school in Austin. She comes back to Texas, goes to the hospital, gets out of the hospital, and she takes her own life in that bathroom. So before that, you know, that was one of the only peaceful moments we had, was listening to that Jazz game, falling asleep on the floor of her shag carpet in that bedroom. The bathroom was like a 70s bathroom as well. I actually mentioned the bathroom in an earlier podcast that was titled 64 Days Without Pooping, because when I finally did poop after 64 days, it was in that bathroom, and my poop had become so hard that it broke the toilet. It broke the ceramic toilet and made just like a hole. And so for like a year after that, there was just a hole on the bottom of the toilet, and they ended up having to buy $1,000 toilet. I can't believe that was in my stomach though, and it came out there. But also that bathroom, I remember around this time that she left her husband. It was a few months earlier. I had driven my van. Uh, there was like a cold night, and I had been sleeping in my van from Austin, San Antonio, just having adventures and stuff. But this particular night it was really cold, and I couldn't sleep in my van, and the heater wasn't working. And so I was asking my mom if I could stay, and they were saying, like, no, you can't stay, you can't stay. And then so I finally was like, okay, well, they let me use the bathroom. So I used the bathroom and I took a shower, and I was just like sitting in there dressed, and I was like, fuck that, I'm not going back out in that cold. And I like locked myself in that bathroom, the same bathroom where I took the 64-day shit, the same bathroom that my mom drowned herself in. I locked myself in there. And then Guy, her husband, was like, knock on the door. We told you to leave. You have to leave. And then I was just like, I'm not leaving. It's freezing out there. I'm not leaving. And then finally they gave in and just let me sleep on the bathroom floor. And that was a night I'll never remember. I'll always remember that night, sleeping on the bathroom floor. If I ever go to purgatory, it will be in that 1970s designed, decorated bathroom that I've mentioned, that's so near and dear to my heart. No, it's the bathroom that I took the heaviest shit I ever took in. It's one of the only bathrooms I ever slept in, and it's the bathroom that I saved my mother from taking her own, killing herself, and then the bathroom that my mother eventually did kill herself, and a bunch of other stuff happened in that bathroom as well. But we won't get into that in this podcast. This is the earliest out of the 56 podcasts I've done. This is the very earliest I've done. And I'm doing that because, like I mentioned in today's essay, there's people that have just like gone out of their way to harass me. There's people online that have spent thousands of dollars to downvote my shit and, harass me online as well. But then there's also people in real life who stand outside my apartment or who yell things at my apartment. And like, I think of it, if you want to mess with somebody like me, you got to get up pretty fucking early in the morning. I've been up since 3 a.m. I get up at 3 a.m. every day. I've been doing it for 4 years. So some people, they want to mess with me. They have to stay up all night. It's usually on Friday and Saturday nights. But if you want to mess with me, you have to get up pretty early in the morning. That Utah Jazz game, it came up because I was talking to my girlfriend Jamie, and she lives in Manchester, England, and her boyfriend, or I'm her boyfriend, but her brother goes to school in Salt Lake City in Utah, and he's about to graduate. And I was telling her about the Utah Jazz, and she's like, "Oh yeah, my brother had a sweatshirt with that logo on it." And then I told her about like jazz culture, and a lot of people don't want to hear about jazz culture. It just sounds bad because Utah is like such a white state, and everybody knows how much everybody hates white people now in 2023. But also Karl Malone's not one of the most favorite athletes of all time, and neither is John Stockton really. Uh, so he's underrated though, John Stockton. So a lot of people don't like to hear about Utah, but on a very early podcast, an early story, I talk about Antoine Carr, who wasn't a star basketball player, but he played for the San Antonio Spurs. And at one time, when my brother and me were like 11 years old, 10 or 11, it was a Sunday. We were waiting at a bus stop because we wanted to go to Albertson's grocery store. And uh, we were just asking cars for rides because we were dumb 10-year-olds. And then this nice brand new truck pulls up, white truck, and we're like, we're going to Albertsons. Can you give us a ride? And he's like, I'm going to Albertsons. And then I get in the truck, and my brother gets in the back, and and it's Antoine Carr, a player of the San Antonio Spurs, and he had just got traded to the Utah Jazz. I'm like, are you Antoine Carr? And he's like, yeah. I was like, sorry, or he didn't get traded. He signed with the Utah Jazz. And I'm like, oh, sorry, you signed with another team. I was like, oh, that's okay. It's like, you boys shouldn't be asking people for rides. There's crazy people out there. I'm a good person, but don't ask people for rides. This is a city. And then we learned that lesson right then. We're like, okay. And don't ask strangers for rides. We didn't have parents to tell us that. But later on in life, in 1998, when I'm watching Michael Jordan play his last game for the Chicago Bulls in the 1998 NBA Finals, Antoine Carr is playing for the Utah Jazz. And so I'm looking on the court. I'm like, hey, look, it's Antoine Carr. That's the guy that gave me and my brother a ride to the store. And he's on the court for Michael Jordan's last play. And then flash forward a few years later, and Kobe Bryant, legend as well, playing his rookie year in the playoffs, and they're playing Utah. And Kobe Bryant shoots up 2 air balls in the fourth quarter, and everybody in Utah's laughing and pointing and stuff, and Utah wins the game. But if you look at the tape, even though Antoine Carr played on the other team, he goes up to Kobe and he's like, Kobe, don't sweat it. You are going to be a legend. He's like, don't sweat it, And I get a little choked up. Antoine Carr, if you're out there, I know you're a darn good dude, Antoine Carr. So if you look at the tape, though, he actually says something to Kobe, and I'm guessing what the type of person that Antoine Carr is. It's something like "Keep your head up, kid. You're gonna be something special." So, rest in peace, Kobe Bryant, too. But yeah, so Utah Jazz is the only professional sports team in the state of Utah. They play in one of the smallest markets, Salt Lake City, and you have to give them credit. I believe they got the steal in this year's draft. I forget the young man's name. I saw highlights videos of him uh, years ago, but yeah, so a lot of people they don't like Utah, but my girlfriend was asked about them. Then I told her all about Utah jazz culture, and I didn't tell her the story about sleeping on my mom's floor in 2003, listening to the Jazz game. But um, but yeah, like I said, I used to be embarrassed of the story, but now after I've grown up and matured and learned more about life and how things work, I've realized that you shouldn't be some things that you're embarrassed of when you're young. You realize that were actually good things that happened and things that you cherish when you get older. So with that being said, thank you all for listening. The Mr. G podcast is available wherever you listen to podcasts. Um, Thank you for listening, and for me, my street cats, have a great day.